Today I'm going to be putting some sound deadening on the roof of my truck. All right, so there are 3 clips you've got to take out. So this was mounted up like here. So there's a clip in the back, a clip on the top, and then a clip right here. So 3 clips to take off. I am going to disconnect the negative on the battery terminal just because I'm unplugging stuff. And once we get up here, we're going to get to where there's airbags. So I'm going to do that now before I get too far. Okay, so battery's disconnected. For this one, the back, you can just open up the sunglasses thing, pull the front, pull it down, and then just get a trim tool in there and pop it all the way down. It's just clips, but start in the back and then it'll slide out. Now for the headrest, there's a little spot here. Or not the headrest, sorry, the visor. So for the visor, there's a little tiny clip that comes out right here, and then there is a screw inside of there. On this side, it's just like a trim piece, so I'm going to see what I got to do to pry that down. All right, so with a pry tool, you pop this little thing off. There's 4 little clips. You can see the holes there. Maybe you can't, I don't know, but 2 there, 2 there, and it just pops off. Then it looks like an 8mm screw here, or 8mm head. I don't see what's in here yet, but I've got to look at it, and then I will go get the tool that I need. All right, fortunately it's a T20, and I have a long enough one. I just got to find a screwdriver to put it in. All right, so you're going to need 6mm and 7mm and 10mm wrenches for this, because these here are 6. 10 takes the negative off the battery, and then this one here was 7. A lot of other stuff on this truck is 8, so just, I would say, have a good set of metric wrenches. I got to do the exact same thing on the driver's side, and then I'm going to move over, or start moving back. The whole thing kind of comes down because there's a clip going back that way on top of this bracket. So I'll show you all that later, but let me just get this taken off. So over here, it has the bracket for the handle. This side does not have the bracket for the handle. So I was thinking about trying to get the A-pillar from Australia or something. It turns out that wouldn't even work because it looks like it's a whole different thing. It's not like there's stuff bent back. It's a whole different setup. All right, so this seat belt is a T47, so I'm going to take that off, and then this trim piece can come off around it. All right, so the only thing holding this on once you get this thing off are two clips down here, and then just little things that go into the seal. And then at the top, oh, I'm sorry, there are two clips at the top, and it looks like one stayed in. So you might have that happen where the clip itself stayed in, it came off the piece of plastic. But when that does happen, you just take it out and then stick it back on the spot that it came off. So easy to fix. There we go. So now that's back on there. When I'm all done, I can snap it back up there nice and easy. I'm gonna do the same thing on the passenger side. All right, so all I have left are the back parts and then the whole headliner, actually the back parts and the handles there. So we're gonna move back there and do that now. Yep, they look like the same T20 Torx bit that we used before. So the spring is only on the small part, just in case you were curious. The spring that holds this one, the big part doesn't, the small one has the spring. So I'm just gonna leave that right there so I can come back to it. Weird. So this one, on the driver's side, the spring is on the big part. I don't understand the difference, why they'd have a different one, but it doesn't really make any difference at all. So now I've just got to take this back stuff off and then I can pull the whole thing down. All right, so we're making progress, but there's a bunch of wires up by the rearview mirror that have to get disconnected somehow. I don't know where this one's going. Okay. There we go. What a pain. At least it's well held in there. Now, we gotta figure out how to get it out. Haven't thought this part through. All right, so it's complete chaos in here. If you do this, before you disconnect your battery, put your seats all the way back, like take the back seat down, put these seats all the way back, take the headrest off of it. I don't know how I'm gonna get this thing out of my truck. I'm not sure if maybe I'll just start working with it in here and then put it back up right now. I was hoping that I could have it all the way out. So I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes of trying to get it out. And if I can't get it, then I'm just gonna start putting the stuff up here. Shouldn't take more than about an hour, and then I can put it all back together. All right, so I'm gonna do this without taking the headliner out because I can't figure out a good way to do it without bending it, and I plan on putting it back in within the next hour. So we'll see what we can do. I'm just gonna start putting this stuff up there. I'm gonna do one section at a time. Stuff smells like tar. Oh, so I forgot to do the sound test. So on a big empty panel, I'll show you what it sounds like. That's pretty hollow sounding. So once we get all this sound deadener on here, it's gonna sound a lot more like a dull thud. All right, so I've got this whole section with the first part of the Dynamat all rolled on there. So now I might give it one more quick roll. That's just one little corner spot there. I cut it off. That is the bolt. So on this piece of trim, there's a bolt that goes down, and that is it right there. So if you ever want to put a roof rack on, you've got to take the headliner off to get to it. But anyway, I've got this on. I'm going to roll it out one more time. Then I'm going to put the second coat, and then I'm going to move forward. There's only 2 more sections, so I should be done with this within an hour. And then I'm going to put the headliner back on. That's going to be a pain. So the back section is totally done. I've got both layers on there. The tin foil on the back of this stuff can be really, really sharp. I sliced my finger open, not with a knife, but with the foil on the back of this. So when you're doing this, just be careful. It's just like a bad paper cut. It's not the end of the world, but it would have been nice to not do that. Okay, finger fixed, got a Band-Aid. Gonna finish this up and get the headliner back in there because I'm sweaty and gross and tired of doing this. All right, got the entire thing done. Back to front. I'm not gonna do the rails. I did a little bit on that, but I think that's just a waste. So I think this is plenty. I'm pretty happy about it. Now I just gotta get the roof liner or the headliner back up, which is not gonna be the easiest thing, I don't think. Getting it down was a pain, so I guess we'll just see what happens. So the clips involved in the headliner, you've got two in the back and they go into holes right back here. So you got one here, you got a post that kind of goes in to guide it, and then another one over there. So those are gonna be the hard parts to get stuck up in there. That's what was holding it up. And then that right there, those foamy things just kind of hold it in place. And then there's a magnet that goes on that little clip right there. And then in the front, it's actually held on by the front little compartment thing. There's two screws that hold that up there, but there's a lot of wires I got to plug back in, and I got to put the whole, the entire rear view mirror molding back on. So that's going to be a pain. But anyway, I'm just going to get to it. The sooner I start, the sooner I'll finish. Everything is just about buttoned up here. One dude asked me what was up here behind the rear view mirror and how you could install like a radar detector. I don't see any way to install a radar detector up here. It's all pretty much used up. So, I mean, taking the cover off is not all that difficult, but there's not a whole lot of room up here. You could run a wire and then have something down below it, but as far as putting something up in there with the rest of it, I don't think that's doable. That was a ton of work, but I have no extra parts, so that's good. I did break one clip, so I'm gonna have to replace that. It's kind of a bummer. I just got back from a test drive with my truck with all of the sound deadening up in the roof, and it was noticeably quieter. The sound system sounded better. I think it just wasn't reverberating as much. The bass sounded a little bit tighter. Maybe that was just placebo, but it did sound a lot better. I've got a bunch of this stuff left. I think I used like maybe half of it. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got enough left to do it again. So if one of you guys in the United States wants this stuff, if you want to pay for shipping, I will send you what I have left. If there's more than one of you, then we'll have to like just kind of pick it, but there's a lot of this stuff left, and I don't really want to do it again. I sliced my finger open on the freaking foil, so that sucked. Amazon package, more heat shrink. So I'm going to cut one of the wires that does the power for all of the daytime running lights on the pods in the front thing. I'm going to cut it, put some heat shrink, finish it off so there's no hot wire sticking there, and so that all the other lights aren't on. It's still going to be able to be switched on, but not going to be on all the time like it is now because it's a little too much. But back to this. So test drive was awesome, noticeably quieter. I have a, I guess a decibel measurer, decibel meter on my phone. It's just a phone app, but if I was comparing like this to a professional one, I would say that's not apples to apples. But the fact that I am using my phone, I tested it without all of this stuff on the freeway going exactly 70 miles an hour, cruise control on, same pavement. It's not like I went from concrete to tarmac or something. I used the same stretch of roads, set the speed limit to 70 and just cruised. When I did it the first time without all the sound deadening, the decibels were anywhere from like mid to low 88s. So 88.1, 88.4. One of them was 89 point something, but averaging, I would say maybe 88.2 decibels was the average at 70 miles an hour with no sound deadener in the roof. So when I went back out today, it was coming in like high 82s, low 83s. A couple times it hit 84. but there were cars passing me. Like I noticed when a Hellcat went screaming by me, it bumped up to like 94. Anyway, I'm really happy with it. It was a ton of work. The headliner, I did break a clip, but I do plan on taking the headliner down again when I put my roof rack on. I say that like I have it. I haven't even ordered one, but I know I want to do one. So I'm going to do a roof rack eventually, and I'll have to take the gutter covers off, and there are 2 bolts underneath the headliner you've got to get to. So if you guys do this, disconnect your battery. You're unplugging airbags. That's a big deal. So I disconnected my battery. I unplugged everything. There's a bunch of plugs. There's 3 plugs up in the console overhead with the auxiliary switches, your windows, and all of your rear window control, and all of your, what else is up there? You have, oh, just some map lights. So that's up there. And then you've also got to disconnect some stuff forward of that. There's everything for your forward-looking windshield wiper sensors, your camera up there that does your part of your lane censoring, part of your seeing like the speed limits coming by. There's a bunch of stuff underneath your rear view mirror that you've got to unplug as well. So there's 2 plugs there. There's 3 plugs in the console, so that all has to come down. There's 3 plugs at the bottom of each A-pillar, 2 for the airbags, and then 1 for the speaker. All that's got to come out. And then as you work your way back, that's the only plugs you've got to undo. But then there's just so many body panels you got to get off. And then there's clips in the back that you got to snap down to get the back of the headliner off. The middle's held on by a magnet. The back is held on by those freaking clips, and that's one of the ones I broke. Putting the thing back on took me, I probably spent 30 minutes just trying to line up that back segment just to get the clip in there. I got the one on the passenger side, and I ended up getting it close, and I just punched the thing, and it snapped in there. And then on the right side, I thought I had it. I hit it with the palm of my hand, and I just heard it break, and I heard it rattling around in there, so I got it out. It's not the same clip. There's a couple clips in the door panels that pop out. They're plastic. I thought it was the same as that. I was gonna just pop that out of there and put it in the headliner one just to get a clip in there. Not the same clip, super unfortunate. So when I take the headliner all the way off again, I'll have to replace that clip. For now, it's not sagging, it's not rattling, it's not moving anything, but I know that there's a clip missing. I might just like stick something in the back there just to hold it a little bit better. I haven't decided how I'm gonna do it. I haven't looked at it too much. I'm just tired of this project. But the results were worth it, I think. It's noticeably quieter inside. It just sounds better. When you thump on the hood, I'll take the camera out there and show you. When you thump on the hood, it's a whole different sound. I did it a couple times during the install so I can compare to that. But what it used to sound like, so this, there's a little bit of sound deadening there. Not a lot with that mat. Your door has, that's just a hollow sound right there. Same right here. But when you get up on top, now that the sound deadening, I mean, that is so much different than this compared to this. So that's what we're dealing with. Let's find a big flat body panel. That's what the hood sounded like before, or even, I mean, that's not that great, but I mean, so you've got that, this, and then you get up here. That's the difference. And before, the roof was even louder than the doors because it's a bigger piece of sheet metal. So it's worth it, guys. Give it a shot if you're willing to take your headliner off. There's plenty of videos out there on how to do it. All right, so you heard the difference between different body panels, and it almost makes me want to take the door panels off. But when I tried to take the passenger side door panel off just to get a video of it when I was looking through stereo stuff, I took one clip out and realized I'm not messing with this. I don't want to break clips. I don't want to have rattles in a door panel that's perfectly tight right now. And the speakers in the doors, the front speakers in the doors are 6x9s. They're really good. And then you have tweeters up top, so there's not even like a coaxial in the front. It's just a 6x9, pretty decent mid speaker. It does a really good job putting mid-range, I guess it's not bass, just mid-range, putting mid-range sounds out. And if you're in the DC area or the Virginia area and you want to do this to your truck, let me know, man. I'm more than happy to spend an afternoon helping somebody out if you want to drive to Virginia and then just hang out in my driveway. But it was hot, it's miserable. My shoulders are sore, all that rolling with that freaking thing. But it's important that you do that. You've really got to get all the air bubbles out of there for 2 reasons. One, if you have air bubbles in there and it heats up, it expands and it starts pulling it away. And when it gets really hot, that tar, if there's any air in there, it's going to start coming and then go to the edge and sagging down. I've had it happen on door panels in one of the first cars I ever did. I didn't do a very good job. I didn't roll it. I just pushed it on with my hand. So I'm very cautious about rolling it. And these rollers, I bought this one thinking, that looks awesome. I'm going to use that. That's high speed. It's like some sort of like the same stuff your rollerblade or skateboard wheels are made out of. And then I bought a 3-pack of steel ones because they had one that was really skinny like this, one that was kind of fat. And I thought this won't be that good, but I do need a small one. I ended up using these more than I used this neoprene one. It's heavier, it's heftier. It did a better job. It's got these ribs in it so you can see where you've put enough pressure. This one is just flat, so if you go back and forth, you're like, did I get that spot? This one, it leaves little marks and everything, so you can see where you got and you can see how hard you're pushing. So the metal ones are the way to go. These were just off Amazon, so if you look up like sound deadener install, you're gonna find it. And I bought a 3-pack. It's one of them is like, what, 1.5 inches. Well, this is 1 inch wide. This one is maybe 1.5, whatever. There's 3 different sizes. I don't know what, they say different things. They say 1.5 times 1/8. I don't know why it says that. They all say the same thing and they're all different sizes. So anyway, that's the install kit I got. If you're gonna do this, you're gonna need a T20. You're gonna need a T20 for a lot of the screws to hold like the handles on. You're gonna need a 7mm, an 8mm, or I'm sorry, a 7mm and a 6mm socket, because it uses 6mm to pull the handle off of the passenger side. And one of those bolts was already stripped, and that's really frustrating because it took me forever to get it out, and then when I put it in there, it never got tight. So the top one got tight, the bottom one just kept spinning and spinning. I think I can just go get another one, but still, like, that's one of those things you really want to have tight in there. And the driver's side does not have the same bracket, so you couldn't just go buy the A-pillar trim from another country and put it on there, which is disappointing. I was hoping that when I took it off, it was just going to look the exact same, but it does not. So don't spend $200 on a piece of trim that you're not going to be able to use that handle on the driver's side. It's completely different. The wiring goes down there different from the airbag. There's different brackets in there. I don't understand why, but it is. And what else? T20, 7mm, 6mm, 10mm to disconnect your negative battery terminal, T47, the Torx bit 47 to take the seat belts off all the way around. There you go. I think I started this around maybe 10 and I finished around 4. So it was 6 solid hours. I didn't stop to eat. I went and got a drink, but that was it. I was doing this nonstop for 6 hours because I didn't want my wife to give me a hard time if I was doing this past like 8 o'clock. Not that she would give me a hard time, but she would come out here and be like, why are you still messing with your truck? So that's it.
It's over!